Okay, hey there. In this little video, I will only be doing the problems that you could work through reasonably using fractions. So this is a little how I might do certain problems with fractions. So I won't knock through the whole study guide, but certain problems. So Eunice has a piece of paper that's 33.5 inches long. She needs to divide it into four pieces of equal length. How long is each piece? Well, certainly that's 33 1/2 divided by 4 equal pieces. So I can also write it this way. So I can change this to an improper fraction. So 2 times 33 is 66. 66 plus 1 is 67 halves, right? And 4 is the same as 4 over 1. And when I divide by a fraction, it's the same thing as multiplying by its reciprocal. So I have 67 over 8, which is 67 divided by 8. Now, how many 8s can I get out of 67? Well, I can get 8. That's 64. 8 times 8 is 64. And I'd have 3 left over. 8 and 3/8 inches. Number 3. Joe is climbing up a mountain 3/5 of a mile at a time. He climbs up 15 times. How many miles has Joe climbed up the mountain? So each time he goes up 3/5 a mile. And he does it 15 times. So it'll be 3/5 times 15. Well, I can also write it this way, 3/5 times 15 over 1. And when I do that, I notice I have this right here. I have 15 over 5. Remember, with multiplication, you can change the order of these things. So I could write this as, if I swap these, because 5 times 1 is the same as 1 times 5. So all it is, I change places with these two, because you can change the order in multiplication, it's okay. But 15 over 5 is the same as 3. So this thing comes down to 3 times 3. So 3 over 1 is 3. 15 divided by 5 is 3, or 9 miles. A salad recipe calls for 5 2/3 cups of flour. Okay, so it's a strange recipe. The cook wants to have the recipe. How much flour will the new recipe require? So I need to split this in half. So I have 5 2/3 divided by 2, which is the same as 5 2/3 divided by 2 over 1. So I'm going to change this to an improper fraction. 3 times 5 is 15, plus 2 is 17 over 3. And dividing by a fraction is the same thing as multiplying by its reciprocal. So I flip this over. So now I'm left with 17 over 6. How many 6s go into 17? I can get 2. 6 times 2 is 12. And 17 minus 12 is 5. 2 and 5, 6 cups. Number 6. Starsky and Hutch are twins. At birth, Starsky weighed 2 1/4 less pounds than Hutch weighed. So that means Hutch is the heavier baby than Starsky. If Hutch weighed 10 1/8 pounds at birth, then how much did Starsky weigh at birth? Well, let's for a moment, if Hutch weighed 12 pounds and Starsky weighed 3 pounds less, or 3 less pounds, it would be 12 minus 3. And that would tell me how much Starsky weighed. In this case, though, I have how much Hutch weighed minus how much less Starsky was. So if I take away how much less Starsky was, then I'll have Starsky's weight. So this turns into 10 1/8 minus 2 2/8, right? Because I can't, these are different denominators, so I have to make a common denominator. But I can't take 2 away from 1. So I have to borrow from the 10, and the 10 I'm going to write as 9 plus 1. So I have 9. 1 is the same as 8/8. So I have 8/8 for the 1, plus 1/8, so it becomes 9 and 9/8. That is 10 and 1/8 is the same thing as 9 and 9/8. I'm going to subtract 2 and 2/8. 9 minus 2 is 7. 9/8 minus 2/8 is 7/8. So Starsky weighs 7 and 7/8 pounds at birth. Lisa is helping to pack lunches for the school field trip. She needs to pack 224 lunches. So far, she has packed 3/8 of the lunches. How many lunches remain to be packed? So I don't want to know how much she's packed. I want to know how much she hasn't packed. So I'm going to let this box here represent all the lunches. I'm going to split it up into, there's 4 equal pieces. Split these again. I have 8 equal pieces. So 3/8 are packed. That means this 5/8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/8 are unpacked. And the unpacked are those that remain to be packed. So this is the part I want to know. I want to know 5/8. So I need to know 5/8 of 224. Well, that's saying 5/8 times 224. So I have 5 times 224 all over 8. Now, I don't feel inclined to multiply this all out, so I'm going to factor 224 and see if I can whittle it down to something that I can cancel with 8. 8's the same as 2 times 4. And I know I can get at least 1 2 out of this because that's an even number. So I have the 5, 2. What's half of 224? Well, 112, right? If I double 112, I double it, I get 224. And I see that I can also break 112 apart. 5 times 2, that's those two. Now 112. 100 divided by 4 is 25, and 12 divided by 4 is 3. So this 112 is also the same thing as 4 times 28. If that's not clear, let's do this. 112 divided by 4. This is a little test. How many 4s go out of 11? 2. 2 times 8. 11 minus 8 is 3. Bring down the 2. How many 4s can I get out of 32? Well, I can get 8. 8 times 4 is 32. And so it goes in evenly. So on the top, I have 5 times 2 times 4 times 28. On the bottom, I have 2 times 4. Well, the 2's will cancel, and the 4's will cancel, and I'm left with 5 times 28, or 140 lunches remain to be packed. And that's the answer to the question. How many remain to be packed? Sorry, that gets a little hard to read there. Let's see, is there another problem here that can be done? Oh, we got a couple more here. Miss P rode her bike at 4 1/4 miles per hour for 6 hours. How far did she ride? So she rode 4 1/4 for 6 hours. So she rode 4 miles per hour for 6 hours. Conveniently, there go the hour units. And I'm left with 4 1/4 times 6. I'm going to turn this into a mixed number, or an improper fraction, excuse me. I have 4 times 4 is 16 times 1 is 17 fourths times 6 over 1. I can simplify this. That becomes 2 times 3, and this is 2 times 2. So I'm left with, cancel there 2, cancel there 2. 17 times 3, all over 2. 17 times 3 is 51. Is that right? Yeah. 30 and 21 is 51 halves, which is 25.5 miles. We could also do it this way. We have 6 times 4 1/4, which is the same as 6 times 4. I'm just going to kind of separate these two. 6 times 4 is 24. And 6 quarters, 6 1/4, is 1 1/2, right? Because a quarter is like 25 cents. If I have 6 quarters, that's $1.50. But I get the same answer. 24 plus 1 1/2, 25 1/2 miles. The Jones drove 540 miles in 7.5 hours. What is the unit rate in fraction form? So this is telling you that there's 540 miles driven in 7.5 hours. I want to know, because we got miles per hour, I want to know how far the Jones drove in 1 hour, unit rate. So I have 540 divided by 7.5. So that becomes 7. 2 times 7 is 14 plus 1 is 15 halves. So I have 540 over 1 times 2 over 15, because when I divide by a fraction, that's the same as multiplying by its reciprocal. Now I have 540 times 2. 15 is the same as 3 times 5. Excuse me, there, my writing. Well, 540 ends in a 0, so I know it's a multiple of 5. I'm going to do it this way. I'm not going to try and divide into 5. That's a little much. But I do know 54 is the same as 6 times 9. So it's also the same as 60 times 9. 60 times 9 times 2 over 3 times 5. And I know 60 is the same thing as 5 times 12. And 9 is the same as 3 times 3. So I'll put everything up here. So there it is. So 60, there's my 60. 5 times 12. 9 is 3 times 3, and there's my 2. And I can see here that I can cancel this 5 with this 5. And I can cancel this 3 with this 3. And I'm left with 12 times 3 times 2. I'll do 12 times 3 is 36. 36 times 2 is 72. Or 2 times 3 is 6. 12 times 6 is 72. So I guess they went 72 miles per hour as their rate, their unit rate, because that's how many miles they drove in 1 hour. And I believe that's it for the problems that you could quickly do with fractions. Hope it helps.